الذكرى ومن مسرى إلى مسرى صوخ خواطري شعرا فسبحان الذي أسرى عرفت الله بالسور وفي الآيات والعبر وفي سيرورة البشر فسبحان الذي أسرى عرفت الله بالزهر وفوح نسيمه العطر وفي الأنداء والقطر فسبحان الذي أسرى عرفت الله في الغسق وفي إشراقة الفلق وضوء النجم في الأفق فسبحان الذي أسرى في البحر عرفت الله وفي مد وفي جزر عرفت الله وفي الأنهار إذ تجري عرفت الله فسبحان
بسم الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm not sure if anyone has been to any of my lectures before, but I work being a counsellor and life coach, I work in a completely different way. And what I've noticed over many years of my work is that even though we Muslims, we read the Quran and learn the hadith or the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the question is, why is it so difficult to put into practice for some and it's easier for others? Bear in mind the concept of Islamic State, and not being an Islamic state of mind or heart is like East and West. So if a child is born in an environment which is conducive to his fitrah and continues that way, then the issue of practicing or not practicing won't be a problem. It won't be a concept. But as it stands, because we're living in this kind of society, or the world as a society, and that's near enough going the same way, those of us who grow up in deen have got to deal with not just the waswas of shaitan and the onslaught of the shayateen, but at the same time the influences of school curriculum, the influences of social peers, adults, friends, media, etc., etc. So according to your state of heart or mind, that will dictate to you your life, basically. So whatever standard you've set yourself, that standard will dictate who you marry, what job you do, the friends you keep, where you go, even what you eat, or what you buy. That will dictate it. Because if I go out on a limb now and say to every one of us here, we have no personality. As a pure personality, we are a makeup of a lot of different personalities. And to reach the purity of our own self, our own personality, takes a lot of work. Because every one of us here has a mask. We give good performances every single day and miscommunicate with each other in such a dire way that one person can be talking red and the other person's understanding blue, especially between husband and wife. So communication is a big core skill to have, and the beginning stage of communication should be with oneself. Hence, introducing yourself to yourself. It's a concept that I came up with about 4 or 5 years ago. And the workshops that I run for these concepts can be very deep, very emotional, very challenging to the person. Because the first point of change, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that Allah does not change a person's people until the first change was within themselves. So when you, for example, al-mu'min miratul mu'min, that a believer is a mirror for a believer. So these days you say to somebody, ittaqillah fi nafsik, fear Allah, and they say to you what? You fear Allah. What are you telling me to fear Allah for? There's something wrong there. There is something in your wrong there. Because that shows a lot of guilt, a lot of sin, a lot of defense. Albeit it could be from the sins of, from the deen, and he's a Muslim and he's committing sins, so therefore he feels guilty, he doesn't like mixing with the Muslims, doesn't like going where Muslims go, so he's isolated, and shaitan plays with him like a rag doll. And at the same time, when you attempt to change yourself, you will have resistance. And the more resistance you have, the more work you have to do. For example, those of us who come into the deen later on, like myself, have got a lot of issues, so a little bit deli-like, a bit loopy. What I mean by that is, there's a lot of things you've got to deal with. And this is where anger comes in, frustration comes in, etc. Because the frustration comes in when you don't know what's going on with the communication between yourself, parents, cousins, friends, other Muslim brothers and sisters. There's a conflict, there's an inner conflict going on. And this conflict you have to manage. And it all comes from recognizing your resistance to whatever change it may be. Now, everybody's got their own test. Some people can lower their gaze, some people can't. Some people can stay away from drink, some people can't, etc., etc. So a test maybe for somebody is a gambler, for example. But he can lower his gaze. Money's not fitna for him in that sense. The dunya is not fitna for him. Or vice versa. He can control one vice, but he can't control another. The whole idea is to look in that mirror. And in the workshop, that's what I do. You bring along a mirror. And how long can you look in the mirror for? How long? A long time? Of course not. Long enough to squeeze a few zits and do your hair, and the vanity time. It's called vanity time. Yeah? Women spend more time in mirrors than men, but then some men do as well. So what we need to do is get that mirror in front of us so you can see yourself. And when I say yourself, I don't mean your physical self, but the one that you portray, that you don't portray to people. The performance that you give to people is one thing. The performance that you give to yourself is something else. And you're not fooling anybody. So it's high time everybody introduce themselves to themselves. You meet someone for the first time and you introduce yourself, they introduce themselves. 10 seconds later, what happens? You forget their name. Why? Because your ego, your subconscious, the ego is so subconscious in you that you want to impose yourself on that person. You didn't care about taking time and being aware what his name is, and you took it for granted basically. Because we're too busy introducing ourselves to other people. But we never take time to introduce ourselves to ourselves. In counselling, there's a concept called the Johari window. Anyone heard about it? Johari window? Basically, the Johari window is is a square box with 4 boxes inside it, right? And you've got concepts like known to you, known to others, known to you, not known to others, not known to you, and not known to others, and known to you, and known to others. So that's and when you get that Johari window, you fill it in how much you think others know you, and how much you think you know yourself, and how much you know that others don't know, etc., etc., etc. So it's about self-learning, self-discovery. Now, we know that there are groups out there, like the Sufi groups and people like this, and they take tazkiyah to a different level. But tazkiyah, or purification, or is a long journey, and it starts from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And being a Muslim, the first and foremost development, self-development, is that we need to recognize our vices. Do we commit shirk? Yes, we do, on a daily basis, whether you like it or not, especially in this environment. I don't mean major shirk here. Hopefully everyone knows what major shirk is. This way you have to learn what shirk is, or ascribing partners unto Allah by degree, and what kufr is, what iman is, what Islam is, and how to believe in these concepts according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Not the way that we think, or I jump on my sheikh's back, kiss his hand, give bay'ah to him and say, take me to Jannah. It doesn't work that way. No one's going to save you on Judgment Day except the truth and your correct aqeedah. Nothing's going to save you unless these two things are matched. So it's important to grab the bull by its horns and give it a good shake. And it's hard to do because the nafs is like a beast. Who's ridden a donkey here? Easy or difficult? Well, I was in Cyprus in 1983-84. And my uncle said to me, I'm going to go to work, but I know you. Don't jump on that donkey till I come back. And the donkey is docile. If I boot him, he'd probably drop dead. I thought, he's gone to work. The worst thing to say to me them days is they don't do something because I'll do it. Jumped on the donkey's back. This donkey came alive. He came alive. You know, he went from 0 to 10 in a second. His eyes, his ears pricked up like this, and he shot off. And I couldn't control it. It pulled me under an olive tree. You know, olive trees is, I was covered in blood, completely. Mum saw me, and she fainted. I was just completely covered in blood. The point I'm making is the scholars, that's how they see the ego or the nafs, as a beast. And it's important to recognize this beast within ourselves. The shadow self, as they say. The ego. We've all got it. We've all got it. Waiting for others to do it before you do it. That's egotistical. Or, I want it before someone else does. That's narcissistic. Me, myself and I. We've all got an ego by degree. The whole idea is recognize your own ego and how it works. If you've got a vice, and we all have, don't brush it under the carpet and say, no, I haven't got it. Bring it out, emerge it, recognize it so that it can't hide from you. Even give it a name, and it will disappear. And the Christians have a saying, I'm not sure if it's in the Bible or not, but the greatest trick the shaitan ever pulled is to make people believe it doesn't exist. That's the nafs. That doesn't want you to recognize it. The nafs, the ego, can never be fulfilled. It can never be fulfilled. So the only thing to do is to manage it, control it, and suppress it by a degree. The Prophet ﷺ said that if you give a mountain of gold to the son of Adam, he'll never be satisfied to give him a second one. And the only thing that satisfied him is the dust of his own grave. And that's how it's going to be the rest of our lives. That's exactly how it's going to be. Sometimes you can tell someone some advice, and they behave like a 3-year-old will behave, or a 6-month will behave. Who's got children here? When they don't get what they want, what happens? Stamp, cried, and they'll cry long enough for you to take notice. If they cried for half an hour, next time they'll cry for 35 minutes. That's their ego. And they like to play. And you have to recognize this. That they will cry long enough to get your attention. The best thing is just ignore them completely and utterly. They start screaming and shouting and stamping their feet. Just say, look, when you're ready to talk, you let me know. And just walk away. But what happens, some parents can't do that, haven't got the patience for it because it's just too penetrating for them. It's some stress, not enough emotional intelligence, and it's just too much. But believe me, the best thing to do is just ignore it completely. You've seen adults like that. It could be myself, it could be yourself. You don't get what you want. You may not stamp your feet and cry, maybe some of you do, but the response to not getting what you want is the same response as a child not getting what it wants, because the nafs or the ego hasn't been nurtured properly from the young age to an old age. Whether you're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, the response to not getting what you want is the same across the board, male and female, whatever age you are. So what are we going to do about it? We need to take on board the awareness that we have a lot of changes to make. Alhamdulillah. You know, we wear the beard and wear the sunnah and the sisters wear hijab and all that. On the surface, we look good. Alhamdulillah, nice. MashaAllah. But deep down, Al-Qalb, Amir al-Jasad, that the heart is the Amir of the body. Okay, it's the control of the body. وَالْأَعْضَاءُ الْجَوَارِحِ جَيْسُ الْجَسَدِ, and that the limbs is the army of that body. So whatever happens here will manifest itself. Nobody can live in hypocrisy. It's too painful. You can't live in hypocrisy. It's just too much. The conflict is too much. You'll not be able to live a healthy life with this hypocrisy. So the idea is to recognize what's going on with this, what is really going on. By looking in that mirror, and after the vanity time has gone, look a bit deeper and ask some serious questions. Who am I? What's my purpose? And not cliche, but that's what happens, isn't it? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ لِيَعْبُدُونَ, I do not create man or except to worship me. So my purpose is to worship Allah, but are you worshipping Him? Yeah, I'm praying 5 times a day, but how much of that 5 times a day prayer is accepted? Well, I don't know. The idea is for you to understand the way your khushu' works, your humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every salah. And those of us not praying 5 times a day should start praying 5 times a day. Those of us just praying just Jummah have got another thing coming. The Jummah is not enough. So it's about grabbing the bull, which is your life, by the horns, and working out your life cycle, your lifestyle. But not the style as in, you know, some people are rich. I don't mean status style. I mean the way you pray, the way you present yourself, the way you fast, etc., the way you communicate. All this style I'm talking about, the communicative style. And it all starts with this, not with this. People say, I'm depressed. Not because there's something wrong with this. You're depressed, there's something wrong with this. As Allah says in the Quran, anyone abstains from a reminder, I'll give him a life. It says, Ma'ishat Nanka, is a life that is narrowed, is restricted. So your heart feels restricted. The more you sin, it feels restricted. And you're going to feel it here. But the more dhikr you do to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more close you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more sunnah you do, it clears up a little bit. And tawbah, repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important. So, let's talk a little bit about the heart. The heart isn't just a lump of flesh that you get lambs and you chop it with onions and mushrooms and you make food. Well, it is for the animals, but for us, it has something. It feels, it thinks, it rejects, it accepts, it breaks. Who's had a broken heart? I can't be the only one. Put your hands up, man, please. You know when you feel, gujen mek. You know when you feel offended. You feel something go across like this, don't it? You feel it. You feel something like this. Literally splitting in two. No, it doesn't split in two, but you actually feel that literal feeling. So the heart is an organ that tells you what is right and tells you what is wrong. But if it gets messed up, if it gets tainted, it gets dirty, the criteria goes. And you can't use this. People that say, I think it's right, are completely unsure. If you say, I feel it's right, there's more chance that you're right. I don't feel right about going there. I don't feel right about this person. And the more imanic you are, so to speak, to coin the phrase, is the closer you are to intuition, which is farasa. You can know, you meet someone, you just know how they are or how they are not. I mentioned emotional intelligence earlier on. Anyone heard of this concept before? Where? Okay. Do you use it in school?
Yeah.
You've been trained with it, right? Alhamdulillah. The scientists have now found that the heart has over 40,000 neurons, which, like the neurons in the brain. So it rejects and it feels, etc., etc. If it gets tainted, your understanding of some things are going to be in the wrong light. The whole idea is to work on the heart. We all talk about the brain. This world now is about intelligence quotient, IQ, how intelligent that person is. that person, if his intelligence doesn't lead him to Allah, he or she is an intelligent fool. There's no intelligence at all. Just the dunya, whatever, alhamdulillah, yeah. We all work, we all study, we all got a bit of knowledge, etc. Dunya knowledge, fine. But unless that intelligence leads him to the truth, which leads him to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an intelligent fool. Means they're not really trying to recognize what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Okay? So we have to go back now and start looking at emotional intelligence. How difficult is it to control one's anger once you're in the zone? It's very, very difficult, isn't it? So the more emotional intelligent you are, the more you're able to control your own emotions and the emotions of others and deal with others. Albeit the way it is, we leave the emotional intelligence aside because no one's taught us that as growing up. And we start working things out with the brain. Thinking what is right, what I should do, what I think I should do, I think I should do that. It doesn't work that way. The best thing is to train in emotional intelligence. And that's to learn about your own emotions, how they work. There's a book called Mukhtasar min Hajj al-Qasideen by Ibn Jawzi. And this book is available in English. And it's the first book I recommend people take on tazkiyah or purification of the soul. As well as there's another book called Purification of the Soul as well. But this book, Mukhtasar min Hajj al-Qasideen, goes through all the vices and virtues, how they can be cleansed, how you can fast, how to pray properly, etc., etc., etc. But it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. This is the first stage of emotional intelligence, is to recognize who you are. Forget everybody else. Everybody else is taken. There's only you left, so you have to be that person. You can't be somebody else. So the idea, again, is to take on a path where you're going to make intention for change. It's not worth changing somebody. I get people calling me up, oh, my husband needs counselling. I said, is that according to you or according to him? Well, I think he does. I said, well, get him to call me, and then when he's ready, then he's ready. You can't force someone to take on a path of change unless they first say, yeah, I want to change. It starts with intention. The same way when some of us came into Deen. You think, I've had enough of dunya, I've had enough of this, I've had enough of that, and you're looking. So Allah gives it to you because your intention is sincere. The same way, if your intention is sincere to start learning about yourself, then things will be manifested in front of you to accept those things, to make that change. And the first and foremost is, as Muslims, is first we check ourselves. How is our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? First. Secondly, how well are we performing our prayers? Are we paying the zakat, if you're in that nisab? Are we fasting the month of Ramadan properly? Are we doing some sunnah fasts? Have we gone to Hajj? Some people I know, they've got money and they're healthy. Oh, I'll go next year. Next year comes, they make excuse because the shaitan comes and whispers. And the more or the less imanic you are, the more these whispers of shaitan become more effective on you. So the more you get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the shaitan can't really whisper. If they stay about here, the whispers. But the less close you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the less you pray, etc., they become more apparent. And it's pressure. It's pressure. Even if you ask the non-Muslims as well in Ramadan, how do you feel? They're going to say, oh, it's a bit less pressure. They will say it. They will say it. The shaitan's not locked up, the shayateen are locked up. But the shaitan himself will never be locked up. It runs through your veins like blood does. So we have to take a path of self-development, self-knowledge, knowing oneself. And that starts firstly with intention. Do I want to change? Who wants to change? Don't put your hand up yet. I'm asking rhetorically first. I'll ask literally in a minute. Before you stick your hand up, you really need to contemplate what that means to you. The reason I said that is, if I was to give you an exercise, which I will give you to exercise, to do at home, for yourselves, not for me, do it at home for yourself, is you get a sheet of paper and a pen, obviously, and you write down 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, number's not really important, as long as keep it minimum 10, is write down 10 things you like about yourself. And don't go all self-righteous and say, I can't think about good things about myself, I can only write bad things about myself. Write down 10 good things about yourself or more. No matter how silly it may be. You've all got skills, you've all got good virtues, write them down. Even the ones that only you know about, or others know about. Then you write down 10 things you dislike about yourself, or more. And that's pretty easy for some, or most people. Then you write down 10 or more things that you wish to change about yourself. And these things you wish to change about yourself may not coincide with the things you dislike about yourself, because your ego is not ready to change those things yet, because of resistance. And this is why I said to you, be careful when you put your hand up. Because you've got to first take this exercise and find out what it is you want to change. This is what I want to change. It's like saying, I want ice cream. I want change, but what do you want to change about yourself? It's a process. It's a serious and long and arduous and difficult path to take to learn about yourself. And you will scare yourself with the things you come up with. The more you take this path of learning about yourself, you could be in a supermarket in Tesco's, you start crying. You could be driving around something, it just all comes out because you've unlocked things in your heart that has been there suppressed for a long time, even from childhood. And this is why when some of us come from Jahiliyyah back into the deen, we revert, not convert, it's okay for the first 2 years, inshallah. The iman is there, whatever injection Allah gives you, whatever. It's not a lot of iman, because it doesn't have much of it. Whatever Allah gives us, it's like, whoa, you're floating on air. Then after it balances out, 3, 4 years, 5 years later, these things start to emerge, and they will affect the way you live your deen. It's inevitable. Because purification isn't leaving, that is purification. It's not leaving these things, suppressing them and say, right, I'm going to find new issues to deal with. You need to deal with these issues. And I know many people come with sexual abuse, domestic violence, drugs, alcohol, you name it, you know that. And these are the things that people try to hide away and give a performance to make others feel like, no, I'm sinless. I'm sinless. I don't make mistakes. That's what we portray to others, which is fine. You want to hide your sins, obviously. But then hiding them and suppressing them and not recognizing them and not doing anything about them is something else. So who wants to change? Yeah. But you've got to make specific goals to change. You've got to make specific changes. Don't be fooled in thinking, I want to change everything. You will eventually. You will eventually change everything, inshallah, by degree. So you're able to lower your gaze more. If you're gambling, you want to stop that. You want to stop everything by degree. Everything is by degree. Just somebody commits kufr doesn't make him a kafir. You understand? It's by degrees. So we have to get a pen and paper, write down these 10, 10, 10, or 20, 20, 20. The more you write, the better it is. Also, though, one extra little thing is get somebody who you think that knows you just as well, your parents or a friend, to write down 10 things they like about you, or whatever you've written. If you've written 20, they get to write 20 things they like about you. Or 10 to whatever number it is, things they dislike about you. And also the things they'd like you to change about yourself. And compare what you wrote to what they wrote. I will guarantee, by the guarantee of Allah, 99% of the time, and it's happened all the time that I've done this with people, is others know you better than know yourself. Because of what you portray. Because what you portray and who you really are doesn't link sometimes. There's conflict there. And that's the easiest exercise to do, to work out how others see you, and how you see yourself, and how you think you portray yourself to others. And this is why the mirror is important. Again, look in the mirror, asking yourself the question after the vanity time, who am I? What's my purpose? Am I fulfilling my purpose? I'm Muslim. What kind of Muslim am I? I don't mean what group. I'm talking about, am I fulfilling my duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or am I just like a leaf in the wind, The wind blows this way, I'll blow this way. If the wind blows this way, I'll blow that way as well. Or are you going to be man enough, with all due respect, manly, and that includes sisters as well, to grab the bull by its horns and do something about it? That's your choice. At the end of the day, death is inevitable. Right? So the sooner you start the journey of self-development, knowing who you really are, the quicker it will be for you to recognize. Because some things, personally myself, I've been on self-development for years. And not that I can never say, yeah, I've reached a certain level in myself, and I'm quite happy in myself. Alhamdulillah, I'm quite happy in myself. But I know that I want to do more work, because your own self-miracles will happen. So I didn't know that about myself. And then you hear someone's voice saying that about you 4 or 5 years ago. You didn't listen, but you're listening now because you've cleaned your heart a little bit. You've done some work on your heart. Not the brain. Forget the brain. The mind. This will get you in trouble. This works out information, processes it. The heart accepts it or rejects it. This is a processing plant. That's why when someone hears the truth, they take 2 paths. They accept, become humble and accept, or become arrogant and reject. And those in the middle are still arrogant and rejecting, because they've got to take the truth or not. Yes? So, you process it, someone tells you the truth, and you've met people like that. You've met people where you've given the truth to their face, and they blatantly say no. I don't mean da'wah. The truth of the matter, whatever it may be. For example, I don't know your hearts, you don't know my heart, but if we took our hearts, everyone's heart now, and laid them on the floor, how would you know who's white or black or Turkish or not, or whatever, what country, Arabic, whatever you are from? How would you know which one is whose? You wouldn't know. So that's how we've got to look at each other. And look at the virtues, and then look at the vices. Some of us have still got vices such as racism and nationalism, etc., and tribalism. Not only do we reject another country person, even though they're a Muslim, but we also reject within the country because they're not in the same class or the same village. And that's worse. And that's worse. And I always bring this up because even, I was at 2011, even 2012, it's still there. It's still there. It's very evident. But don't worry about if it's still there. Well, it's qadr Allah, there's nothing to do about it. Check yourself if you are or not. And if you are, you've got to do that work. You can't progress unless you become humanistic. So being a Muslim doesn't mean you're humanistic. Because you've got Muslims who are racist and nationalistic, and me, myself and I. And even though you're from the same country, you're not from my village, so I reject you. I'm sure many times you've heard or you've been in a situation whereby maybe you go for marriage proposal and you get rejected. I've brought brothers to marriage proposals and they got rejected. And the uncles ring up next day, oh, sorry that she said no. And I've said blatantly on the phone, you said no, uncle, because he's black. Why don't you just admit it? Why don't you just say it? Just say it so we can get on. And I respect you for saying it. But you will never say it because you have your own conflict. And that's all due respect. I said, uncle, I'm only advising you, that is your own conflict. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila ta'arafu, inna akramakum 'inda Allahi atqakum. That Allah says, O mankind, He didn't say Muslim or non-Muslim, He said everybody. I created you from a single male and female. I made you nations and tribes to recognize each other, not to despise each other. And Allah says the most honourable in my eyes is the one who's most taqwa. So you're not going to get to Jannah with your passport from Pakistan or Turkey or Jamaica or India or Saudi Arabia, whatever it is. You're not going to get to Jannah because of your status, how much money you have, or what car you drive. You're not going to get to Jannah because you're going to say to Allah, I'm from this country, so let me in. Look, I've got this passport. Your passport is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, and that has conditions. Who's learned or who's studied the condition of Shahada? Who's heard of the condition of Shahada? Shurut La ilaha illallah. Few of you. And that's a shame. Because in order to know that you're internalizing your Shahada, you need to know its conditions. and what it actually stands for, really. Don't take it for granted, learn your deen ad hoc, with a tape here and a CD there and a bit here and a bit there, and I'm learning my deen. This is another thing that we have to put down about changing. It's a life process. We spend more time eating, drinking, going to work than we do spending on self-development on ourselves. And what does that mean? Until others let you know about you. Not you let yourself know about you. Others tell you who you are. Not yourself. And that's not something to take very lightly. And I'm sure someone said something about you that you may not like, and you've been resistant towards it. That's where the work starts. That's where the work starts. It's important to understand that. Self-development isn't, I pray 5 times a day, and I wear a beard and hijab. I don't wear hijab, but I'm done. That's me. Because we need to understand that without the process of daily purification, of daily understanding oneself, or daily self-development, daily recognizing who we are, we're just going to look the part, but inside and the outside is not going to match. We're 2 different people. One performance to outside, and one performance by myself. One performance with my family outside, one performance with my family on the inside. 2 performances. And it first starts by removing the masks of who you really are. And who are you? Ask yourself, who am I? Yeah, you may say my name is this and I've done this and I've done everything else. But who are you really? What is your inner core? You know, expose yourself to yourself. Who are you really? Because if you're doing something on the outside of the house and something on the inside of the house, or you're becoming one person with outside of people and you're somebody else by yourself, that's how you know there's work to be done. And I'm sure most of us are like that by degree, depending on our imanic, or coining the phrase, level. Some weeks we're very liberal on ourselves. So we think we can get away with more. Some weeks we're too hard on ourselves, and we forget Allah's mercy. So worshipping Allah as a balance, hope, fear and love. Not fear, living your life with fear all the time, and you're oppressing yourself and others. Oh, that's haram. Thanks, bro. Thanks for the obvious. What do I do about it? Or you just live with love and become wishy-washy, like, you know, marshmallows and butterflies. Everyone's like, yeah, Allah's so merciful, and the Prophet is like, you know, He's rahmatul lil alameen. He's so merciful, and that's where everybody's turning now. The softness and marshmallowiness and everything. That's the deen. Beautiful. And whenever someone's like that in front of me, I always tell them the story about the 2 men that came from Tuba, and they were sick, and they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "Cure. We need medicine." So he sent them to his own camels. He said, "Mix the urine and the milk together and drink it, and that will cure you." And they became healthy. They went and killed the camels and killed the shepherd and stole the camels. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam got hold of them, he cauterized their eyes and chopped their hands and feet off. Now I'm not saying Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not merciful, but the idea is you live your life as a balance. In the punishment, there is mercy as well. In the punishment, there is a mercy as well. So we have to understand, you know, learning about the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and studying seerah is a worship as well. Is an ibadah. To know who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. Allah tells you what to do, the sunnah tells you how to do it, and the seerah shows you how it was done. Simple. So whenever you give a lecture on prayers and you say, look, some scholars say that if you don't pray any at all, that you're not a Muslim. And then someone says, well, what about the situation between Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, etc., etc. Then you explain it and they're still going on and on. I said, look, we're just passing on information. You have to go and process it and go and study a bit more, go and find out what it's all about. You will get resistance in everything in your life. Resistance in everything in your life. And the first and foremost, like I said, it starts with intention. Then grabbing one thing about yourself that you wish to change and start working on that. Don't do everything. And I would guess, with the majority, it's anger. Because that's all I deal with. My husband is angry. So I don't want to do mediation, because I don't come here and say Allah said this and Rasul said that. You know that. The idea is to work on why you're angry. What's the angry? And every angry person is a little person. It's the little person, the ego inside, that comes out now and again and becomes like a child. They lose their parental skills, they lose their adult skills, and they become the child. So sometimes when you meet a person who's an angry person, the way to deal with that isn't bring your angry person, your ego as well, and start locking horns, is to become the parent of the angry child. I don't care how old that person is. An easiest thing that works is that when you stop getting angry like that, and we'll talk. I can't talk to you like this, and walk away. But then again, the egos come up. So you lock horns. So you're going to find, and the way to do it is to find out who you are. Why do I get angry at certain things? Work it out. You've got to go back to your past. How was it growing up? How did you respond to certain things? Why do you respond in anger with one thing, but you don't respond in anger in something else which deserves the anger? It's a whole big process. It's a whole big process. I want to introduce you to, we've got half an hour, to a concept called the hierarchy of value. Anyone heard about it before? Anyone heard of Maslow? Hierarchy of value is basically the values that you hold dear, that you spend how you know they recognize the values, how much time, effort, energy, money you spend on these values. For example, if I would give you my 10 highest value, career wouldn't be in there. It wouldn't be in the first 100 even, in my value. Because what I hold valuable isn't career. Obviously my deen, etc. But the most important thing and my highest value in that scale is a peace of mind. So I will spend the time, effort, even lose people or gain people to get my peace of mind. And you have to recognize that in yourself as well. And when you say, I value this, don't say in a sense, yeah, I value it because it's something that you should say. You've got to taste it. You've got to taste the essence of it. Yeah, I value my family. I value my deen. I value the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then ask yourself, how do I value them? How do I value the blessings of Allah, my family, my deen, my father, my mother, my brother, my work, whatever it may be? What is your hierarchy of value? Typically, everyone says, yeah, my deen is my highest of value. But is it? Is it? It's easier said. For example, like I said, on the surface, it's good to look like a Muslim. And on the inside, there's no shirk, I believe in conviction. Yes? But there's the conflicts that you have to follow. What are these conflicts that's going on? Hypocritical conflicts that happen in every single person. And again, it starts with the mirror. Because you have to look at yourself. You have to grab that mirror and look at yourself. My purpose, my intention, my purpose, how I'm living my life, how do I communicate? And the way to do that is to think about, parents and how you behave towards them. And your spouse, if you're married, how you respond to them and how they respond to you. And your children, and your work colleagues, or your brothers and sisters in deen, or your brothers and sisters from the same womb, how it is. I remember about, 10 years ago, I was giving a small talk to someone's house, and I said that Iman is 6 to 9 and up to 73 odd branches. And the highest of which is saying the Shahada, and lowest of which is removing something harmful off the ground in case it befalls someone. And the brother stood up. He goes, I'm not doing that. This is a kuffar country. And my mind went twisted. I said, brother, please sit down, yeah? I said, what has that got to do with your Iman? So if you're not picking it up and you're adamant, then you've got to check your Iman. So if you walk past the glass pot that's broken, you're not going to kick it out of the way, you're not going to pick up a screw or a nail off the floor. Because why? It doesn't make sense. So what I'm saying, this is why we have to work out. Am I really valuing my deen? Am I really valuing my knowledge? Am I valuing my parents, my family, everything? And put these into perspective. And the way to do it is get pen and don't think about it. Don't forget this. Get a pen and paper, and as you write, you feel it. You write, yeah, put on it, Deen. On a scale of 0 to 10, where am I? Prayer, on a scale of 0 to 10, where am I? And break it down more. Fajr, on a scale of 0 to 10, where am I? Then you can work your way backwards. So if you're a 6 on your Deen, and you're a 4 on your prayer, and you're a 3 on your Fajr, then you can't make your Deen a 9 unless you rectify the other, your prayers, and then even more specifically your Fajr or whatever prayer that needs to be sorted out. And those who are just praying Jummah, doesn't really make sense. Because I asked the brothers, why do you pray Jummah? And they say it's fard. Okay, so what about your 5 daily prayer? And they say, oh, make dua for me, I'm lazy. I'll give you a slap. It's a ridiculous concept. One thing you have to learn about life, okay, and take it from me, is don't let people get away with their own nonsense. Wake them up to their own reality. Don't be rude about it. Don't be too harsh about it. Don't be too soft about it. But say, brother, this is ridiculous what you just said. It doesn't make sense. You're praying Fajr, you're Friday Jummah because it's Fard, and you're forgetting the 5 daily prayer, and you make an excuse because you're lazy. But you're not lazy to eat or drink or cohabit or have babies or go work and make money. This is the concept I'm talking about. Whether they're going to do this work or not, I don't know. But that person who's just praying Jummah is not going to help you on Judgment Day. You're going to help you on Judgment Day. The truth and your aqeedah and the way you are with your learning your deen, the way you learn the truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's deen is going to save you on Judgment Day. So, working out, do the exercise I've given you, and also work out your hierarchy of value. What do you spend more money, time and effort on? If you say, I spend a lot of time on my prayer, but you spend about 2 hours a day on Facebook or 3 or 4 hours on PlayStation or whatever, then you're going to start thinking about your values. Doesn't make no sense otherwise. And really work out your hierarchy value. What do you value most? If it's your deen, let's say, right, put your deen one side, right. Get a pen and paper, get a circle, and put a deen in the middle, and then, like a spidergram, and say, what my prayers, this, that, and that. And so work it out. Where am I? How many times a year do I late for Jummah? Do I pray in congregation in the masjid? Am I doing my dhikr? Am I doing my 12 sunnah muqaddar? What am I every day? What am I doing? Family. Am I oppressive to my family? Am I oppressive to my children? What do they need? Because on Sunday in LMC I'm giving a talk, it's a 4-hour one actually, with a home group on parental skills. But I'm not even going to touch that, parental skills. Because if you don't know yourself, then you're not going to understand why a child is behaving the way he's behaving. You can say he's a child, that's it. But you need to know who you are first. Then you can work on who your wife is, or your husband is, or your son is, or your mother is, your father is, your daughter is, or your friends are. And we live in a society now that people are afraid to tell each other, bruv, check yourself. Alhamdulillah, I've got brothers around me that tell me, and I love them to death for it. I get resistance, of course, that's my ego. But I'll go away and work on it, because it's important. They're not telling me because they want money from me. They're not telling me because they want to harm me. They don't get no benefit out of it. It's for my hereafter. That's how you know you're true friends. When they make you cry, they make you feel... Not the ones that make you laugh all the time and make things easy all the time for you. Next time, I'm not saying backbite, but you're in a group of friends, yeah? Just say something about somebody as a test and see who tells you wrong or right or wrong. I'm not going to say something bad, but I'm just saying as a test. Find some test. I don't know how you can do it without sitting, but I'm just saying find some way of putting a measuring tape on it, say who your friends are. Do something wrong, just something subtle, and see if anyone picks up on it. But the thing is, like I said, one of your hierarchy of values should be recognizing your standard, the effort, time, energy, money you're spending on to set your life standard. Because that will dictate, as I said, who your friends are, who you marry, the way you treat your kids, the way you school them, the friends you have around you, the way you behave towards people and you allow them to behave towards you. You need integrity. I would never use that word, integrity. You need to know who, you have to respect yourself. You can't change anybody. Okay, forget that. Forget changing anyone. You can't. You change yourself, and in the process, those people will see the change. For example, I was counselling a brother yesterday, and I've counselled him for a long time. It's really annoying me, because he's not doing any work. And I said to him yesterday, I said, bro, you've had about 12, 13 sessions, and can you see any progress in what you're doing? He says, well, because all you're doing is coming here and you're offloading on me. You're paying me, I don't mind, but you're offloading. That's all you're doing. But in 12, 13 sessions, of 1 hour sessions, there should be some improvement. Because he still said to me yesterday, the same thing he said when he first started. Oh, the brothers around me, they're always harsh and they don't drop their guard. So I said, okay, think about that. How about dropping your guard and becoming vulnerable? Then you see the vulnerability and the dropping of the guard in them. Because at the moment, because you haven't dropped your guard, you're seeing that defense in them, and it bothers you because you're projecting. It's you. It's always about you. When you see someone and you say something about somebody, it's like, oh, this person is like... I don't mean things like character, but if you feel anger or some kind of trance, there's something, there's something entwining. You've got to go back and look at yourself. I think it's Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu said, there was a lecture once and it didn't affect his heart. So he said, either what he's saying is there's something wrong with my heart or something wrong with his heart. So you've got to check yourself. Don't blame others for you not understanding yourself, because they understand you better than you understand yourself, and that's the issue. And the more you spend time with others, the more they will know you. The idea is, when someone says something to you about something about your character or something, you say, yeah, I recognise that myself, yeah, I'm looking into that. It shouldn't be a shock. That way you know that the character you are with yourself and your family and other people is the same across the board. There's no conflict. The way to do that is drop your guard. Drop your defences. Be vulnerable. So again, for people that are coming from Jahiliyyah, from other cultures, etc., and they've been, different issues come up, these will affect the way and the time it takes for them to self-develop. But it always starts from now. Most people live in the past. And they say, I should have done that, and I should have done this, and I should have done that. Until Allah gives them a calamity check, and they become in the present. Or most people go live in the future. They imagine themselves who they want to be. And they are, in their own delusion. Until Allah gives them a calamity check and they come back to the present. So the idea is to live in the present. Allah is now. Allah is now. There's no past, present, future to Allah. There's no chronological time. We are controlled by time, not Allah. The creation of the pen, the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my death, your birth, First World War, Mahdi, Dajjal, it's happening now to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right now. There's no, it's going to happen, because Allah rules time. So we have to live in the present. Don't live in the past, and don't live in the future. You go into the past to recognize your mistakes and will make them in the future, which is the present. And you go into the future and check, right, I want to be there in 2 years, 6 months, 6 month goal, 1 year goal, 3 year goal, so I want to be there. But you can't dream and say, right, I want to be there, but do nothing about it in the present. So it's easier to go to the past and the future. It's quite comfortable. But being in the uncomfortable present is something else. What do people drink to cover up their pain? Drugs, etc., etc. Or escapism. We all need escapism, obviously. But there's halal escapism and haram escapism. So it's important to recognize first your intention, your vices and virtues, your hierarchy of value, and your own ego. And who you really are. Once you start opening the layers of your own ego, you'll know who you are. And it could be quite scary. But it's okay. It's okay. Because you're going to work on them. And you're giving it time for yourself to open up. and recognise who you are. But that means don't forget dropping your guard. Drop your guard on yourself first. Be easy on yourself. Look in the mirror and say, look, I have got this problem. I want to deal with it. I have got this issue. I'm going to deal with it. And even if you've got to go counselling, even if you've got to go coaching, if you've got to sit with a sheikh and tell him your whole, the whole being, it could be something that is really bad. But you need someone who can doctor the heart. Control the deen, your own way of living your deen. Check your prayers, check the way you are. And check your character, how you behave. And I'm sure all of us here have been in a situation where you've done something, you think, well, that's not me. That's not me. But that's the performance you're giving outside. That's what you're showing people, but it's not really you. Drop your guard, inshallah. And I'll stop there, inshallah, invite questions. So jazakallah khairan. Alhamdulillah.
Right, we're going to do some Q&A, inshallah. Sisters got some questions, pass it over on the right. Brothers, just raise your hand, inshallah.
You said to write 10 good things about yourself, or at least, but wouldn't that feed your ego in terms of, when you accept it, it's quite tricky.
So you're in the category of writing 10 good things easier for yourself then.
Sorry?
You can write things that you dislike about yourself much easier than most people. Oh, sorry.
The Prophet just asked a question regarding writing 10 good things about yourself, what the Prophet suggested. Wouldn't it just feed your ego if you were to just write good things about yourself? Just repeat.
It's not about feeding ego, because there's no harm in not feeling guilty for being a good person. Or doing things, knowing things about yourself, your virtues. Just as you've got vices, you've got virtues. So why stick on the vices and become, not you, I'm just generally speaking, people become like potentially humble with themselves. And say, I can't write good things about myself. Why not? The question is why a person can't write good things about themselves. Why not? Why not? It's not arrogance. It's to recognise who you are, as well as writing the virtues. But if you keep writing good things about yourself and leaving the vices, then yeah. But the exercise is, you write 10 or more good things about yourself that you like about yourself, 10 or more things you dislike about yourself, and 10 or more things that you want to change about yourself. And those things you want to change about yourself may not coincide with the things you dislike about yourself, because your ego is not ready to change some of the things. And then getting someone else to do the same thing about you and comparing it, so that it proves that you can see in reality that others know you better than know yourself in some aspects. So don't be afraid of writing some good things about yourself. Can you take compliments very easily? No. I don't like it. Because, some people living their life with a lot of guilt, growing up with a lot of pressure, a lot of, parents say, you're not going to be like this, But to a child, that's the Turkish saying. It's like you're similar to a donkey, basically. But it's better in Turkish. I mean, you're not going to end up in nothing. And Turkish parents are like that. They can just really just run you down, and they think that it's a joke. They think, but to a child at that age, it can really affect you. It doesn't affect you until later on, wondering, why am I going through life not achieving? Why am I going through life not achieving? It's been 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and I can't reach my goal. Because you've given a belief system. You've been inputted and brainwashed with a belief system about yourself. It's time to sit back and change that belief system by taking counselling or coaching and some therapies and coaching. Some therapies and coaching can remove the belief system within an hour. How you think about yourself. And sometimes what happens, you're so intent and work hard in getting people to like you or trying to be that person that opposite what your parents thought you were going to be, that you make the mistake in becoming the very person your parents said you're going to be. Because we don't sit back and just work on ourselves first. Once you start liking yourself and less easy on yourself, then people will see the same thing in you. Your self-esteem will rise, your confidence will rise, and you know what to do in a given situation. Inshallah. Allahu a'lam.
Can you read it? So you can hear it on the mic.
Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. How should we approach relatives who want to advise regarding their deen, bad habits and un-Islamic dress code when they have the I am who I am and I'm happy like this, you just have to accept me attitude mentality? Is it a bad thing that sometimes our sisters like Retail therapy to cheer us up. I know exactly what that is. I've never heard it before, but I know. All right, the first question. When you say to somebody, you can't start with haram and halal with somebody, even though it's your relatives. Because they may say, yeah, we're Muslim, but they know, but Iman is different it's degrees, and it's completely different level. So when they say Muslim, then why are they drinking, why are they smoking? You know, Turkish Cyprus is based on, talk about my family. Yeah, well, a lot of families still on the deen. Many. Some become Christians, some become Jehovah's Witnesses even. But I don't blame them. Why? Because they've had a deen in the first place. They never had a deen in the first place. Because it's the same with the person. You can't say to your uncle, "Oh, uncle, it's haram to smoke." You put a clip around here, he's going to listen to you. The problem isn't the action that they're doing or not doing. The problem is their connection with Allah. You don't call to Islam, you call to Allah. You call the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. Once that's embedded in the heart, you can tell them that Allah said jump 3 times a day up and down at 4 o'clock in the morning. And they'll do it. Obviously it's not in there, but I'm just saying, once the connection with Allah is sound, the foundation of Iman is there. I'm just going over a culture, excuse me, or silence are kicking in. So is there, then you tell them you have to pray. So inshallah, they'll pray. Because don't forget, you were there once. I was there once. And everyone has resistance to different things. It took me nearly 6-7 years to make my dad understand that Ataturk wasn't who he thinks he was. Because, in Cyprus, 3 years old, they wear his face there and on his heart, and they start reciting that, I don't know what it is, I don't even know it. Was it the anthem, national anthem? So by the time they're 10 years old, it's embedded. You're not getting that out. You're not getting that out. So it's a process. And the best way to give da'wah to your relatives isn't by talking too much. It's by your action. Simple. By your action. Be nice to them. Some reverts are from completely non-Muslim parents, and they think they have to respect them. Yes, you have to respect them. Yes, you have to respect them. If they say something against your deen, as Allah said, unless they say something against your deen, then you don't obey them on that matter. But you still help them in shopping or massage or whatever, get a drink there, or clean your feet for you, massage your head, whatever it is. You still do all the good things to them. That's the dawah I'm talking about. So don't feel frustrated that, what it is, because there's a conflict of interest. The closer you are to someone relative, like mum and dad or brothers, you know that if they die in that state, they could have been in hellfire forever. Allahu A'lam. Right? So that the emotion comes in, so it goes all wrong. He's looking at objectively that you call people to Allah. Because it's not you that makes Muslim. It's not you that gives people Iman. It's Allah. So you give people the truth in the best manner possible, then Allah does the rest. Allah scans the hearts and sees this person wants it or not. Look at the Prophet's uncle Abu Talib. SubhanAllah. And it's not you. It's Allah. Just this last question, this retail therapy question. Yeah. Is it a bad thing that sometimes our sisters like retail therapy to cheer us up? Basically that's just going out on a limb and going shopping. Basically, and buying bags and clothes and things like that. Allahu A'lam. I'm just going to say, don't waste your money. Spend money, but don't waste it. And that's up to you how you're going to balance that out.
So what would be our
Allahu A'lam.
Who says, because we were saying, forget this, it's about the heart. And they say, well, it's about the intellect. We're in a sort of age now where everything is
intellectualized.
The power of the mind. If you want to believe in that something, no matter what it is, you're going to believe in it because that's the power of the mind. And the only reason you can see it and I can't.
This is kalam and philosophy. I mean, this is a lot of people say. I had an uncle. Well, I've still got an uncle, still around, but don't mix with him that much. And we sat there and spoke 2 or 3 hours on the theory of evolution. And I gave him all the evidences, and he completely annihilated the conversation. In the end, all he had to say to me was, "Well, but if there's a God, then why is he allowing all the kids in Africa to die?" I said, "That's not God's fault. That's our fault, because he's given the rule, he's given the formula for that. The rich give to the poor, and it solves it. But if we don't, and the kids die, I have to blame ourselves. Why don't you go to Africa," I said to him, and give them money and feed them and everything else then? It's not God's problem, it's our problem. So what I'm saying is people like to intellectualize this because even some Muslims you give them a hadith and like to intellectualize it. Split it up. They don't take it from this. They take it from here. because of the school system. It's intellectualizing everything. It doesn't make sense to me, I don't want to accept it. There's not much you can do with a person like that. You give the person the truth and you leave it. Nothing you can do. I remember when I first came to Deen, it's like, oh, this person didn't accept that verse, is deviant. I was like that. Doesn't work that way. Who am I to give hujjah? The idea is, if someone doesn't accept, he's not accepting, he's not disrespecting the verse, he doesn't take it from you. Because it was most of the time, it's basically just it's you to accept what you're saying rather than what's being said. So if you speak from your heart, inshallah affect the heart. But if you speak from the ego, it's going to affect his ego or her ego, whoever it is. Allahu Alam.
The sister's got a few questions. I'm just going to quickly run through them. If you can give them short answers, I know.
Sure.
Do short answers.
Sure.
While talking about emotional intelligence, you referred to a book. Can you mention the name of the book again, please?
مختصر منهج القاصدين. مختصر منهج القاصدين. It's in English.
What's in English? What's it?
No, that's how it is in English letters. Yeah, you'll find English letters like that. Yeah. There's no translation on it, but that's how it is in the book. On the front. Yeah, that was originally, but it's been done, redone. No, Ibn Qudama, yeah. It was Ibn Jawzi, and then he did translation. Yeah, Ibn Qudama, Jazakallah.
You can read that, because I'm not right in Turkish. I'll just read this next question while you read that, inshallah. So, brother's got a question. Just raise your hand, by the way. Yeah. Go on, brother. It's just a Turkish proverb.
I'm trying to.
It's a Turkish proverb.
Oh, is it?
And din
düzenle iç temizleyip ve fakat neden ile din. Vallahi anlamadım. Anlamadım.
There's a Turkish
the proverb.
We'll go through that,
inshallah.
Go on, bro, ask the question.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say shaykh, but Jazakallah, alhamdulillah.
My question is concerning Jazakallah khairan for highlighting the issue of looking at yourself, and I think a problem that I would face with myself and in my life is actually finding the time and the clarity of mind, or maybe that's a barrier that I'm putting in front of myself.
Yeah.
Finding
that's your resistance.
Yeah, maybe that's my resistance.
No.
Maybe you can give some tips in kind of getting over that I don't have the time, I don't have the clarity of mind, I don't have the kind of the peace of mind to sit down and start looking through the clutter of my mind and the clutter that's in my heart and in my life, because I'm always on the go. And I think maybe this is the same with
everybody. Yeah.
Education,
so you have to make the time.
Career, family.
Yeah. You make the time to try to heal your heart a bit more. When you heal the heart with dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make some time, once the heart becomes, less pressured and the layers will come off, you'll find more easier time to do what you want to do. That's on that level. On a practical coaching level, best thing is there's no way to do anything except doing it. What you do, the practical way, is to get a pen and paper and write down your whole week, Monday to Monday. What time you get up, how much you sleep, how much time you spend in the loo, how much time brushing your teeth. I mean specific. How much time you spend reading the Quran, how much time you spend salah, how much time work, travelling, driving, whatever it may be. Then find how much time you've got at the end of the week. And then you can say, right, I can put these two together on one day. That will release some time for me to do that. It's about time management. We'll do some more courses here. I want to do some courses here, inshallah. So we can do them. Time management, anger management, everyone.
There's so much clutter in the mind.
You need to, the mind is upset because the heart is upset. Because if you were to become brain dead, you're still living, but someone shoots you in the heart, the whole system breaks down. Everything revolves around the heart. Allahu Alam.
I'm reverse. The communication between me and my family is very bad. Where right now I cut contact due to the pressure and not willing to understand my choice, and also due to the negative view on Islam. Can you advise me on how to make them understand my choice?
I think I understand You can't make someone understand your life choice. And your parents, they're afraid. They're afraid for you. Allahu Alam, but they're afraid for you. And like I said, the best thing to do is to still respect them, show them respect and kindness. And inshallah, through your change, if, alhamdulillah, the deen has changed you, they will notice it. But then they will try to test you with it. The shaitan will push them to test you with it. So watch yourself. It's all about changing yourself and maintaining that change. But if you're one person in Jahiliyyah, which we all are, and you came to deal with somebody else, inshallah, alhamdulillah, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then by giving them da'wah through your action and maintain that change that they see, inshallah, eventually. Allah is the one who makes Muslims and gives iman. Allah is al-mu'min. So it's ways, but don't go into this phrase about, getting a fluster. Oh, my parents like this and they're not accepting me, and etc. Well, then, what gives you the right to expect from them to accept you? Did they accept you before? Did they accept you before? So if there's a change that's happened, then maintain that change and let them see that. No matter what, you're going to get pressured. You're going to get shot. You're going to get bombed. You're going to get everything by them. The shaitan's going to push them to the limit to try and, dissuade you and cause you to break your maintenance. Don't do that. Be aware of that. So take on your surfboard, grab the mirror, and start asking some questions.
Sure. Just to add to that, just briefly, it's a part of the test of life, isn't it? You're going to be
Alhamdulillah.
tested by your family. Especially you come into the deen, you're going to be tested by your family to see if your iman is actually sincere, and Allah knows best, obviously. Another quick question: whenever I do an act that I am not pleased with, knowing that Allah is not pleased with me, after I make repentance, why do I feel so bad?
Another tawbah. Rasul said that guilt or regret is part of tawbah, and when you make your tawbah, you make it sincerely. There's conditions of tawbah. Then after that, every time you feel bad about the sin, you'll get reward for it, inshallah. Oh, that's the one, yeah?
That is the one,
yeah. So you make your tawbah, and if you still feel bad about it, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If you didn't feel bad about it, you start thinking, well, why not? Why am I not feeling bad about it? People say, oh no, I've got no iman because I'm sinning. Well, the mere fact that you're recognizing the fact that you're sinning and it's a bad impact on you is part of iman. Inshallah. Allahu Alam. Alaikum Assalam.
If you came to the deen really quick, if you came to the deen suddenly, and you feel like you've got unfinished business, you try to let it go, not in a weird way, but like with other people and stuff, and you can't let it go, it's probably all the time.
Girlfriends, boyfriends, family, work.
Yeah, like, just to help, because
just give one example, inshallah.
None of my friends are Muslim. Well, my ex-friends are Muslim, so I don't know what to do about that.
Well, they're ex-friends now.
I had to cut them off.
So what's the problem?
I feel like they're going to go to hell.
So okay, then change yourself, and then go back and contact them again. Just a true friend, would give the truth, and the best thing you can tell them is that. Tell them. Don't say, if you did, you're going to go hellfire. Ah. Just tell them, look, this is why I made a change in my life. And I said, I said, well, how long have you been together? They may say 10 years. So give me 1 hour of your life and just listen to me. Let me tell you why I've changed. If you talk from your heart, be vulnerable. Be vulnerable.
Down to earth.
Be down to earth, be vulnerable. Because everyone recognizes your ego. Yeah? Be vulnerable, and inshallah, I'll be fine, man. Inshallah.
Okay. This one's a classic for you.
With the reason I mentioned vulnerability, subhanallah, most of us, I'll say most of us, vulnerability is not an easy thing to be vulnerable, especially between spouses as well, husband or wife. To really let down your guard. I mean, subhanallah, you need to know. You got to own accountability and be responsible for the way you are in your own self. What you can't get across to somebody else, what can't affect someone else, it's not affecting you. The thing you want that person to be affected by, what you want to say, is not really you don't really have full conviction in it. The conviction comes of being vulnerable and being that person that you think you're not. And we're all little boys and girls at the end of the day. We're all, and the musing that I wrote last week is, in the essence of need, we're all children in need of a hug. Simple. And we're afraid to ask for love. We're afraid to ask for hugs. The same, and because of that, we're afraid to ask Allah's love. We're afraid to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You think Allah's love is al-wadud, subhanallah, it will penetrate. It will penetrate. But you have to want it. I have an anger management problem. It's affected my heart, my life, and my kids. Join the club. No, subhanallah. It's good that's the first and foremost point to make, is to recognize it. That's part of healing. Is to recognize. That's 85% inshallah of healing. Is recognize that you have a vice, a problem. You know, counseling helps, coaching helps. The best thing that helps is basically recognizing why you get angry. Because when someone's angry, they're in pain. They're in pain. And you ask them, it's very difficult to ask them, because the one eye's there, one eye's looking at you, one eye's looking for you. Is that you have to ask them, what do you need right now? They're trying to cover up their vulnerability and their hurt, basically. This is my opinion. This is what over the 10 years of anger, I have anger issues. I had rage issues, then anger issues. Alhamdulillah, now I'm just, it's mellowing. But I just recognize that. And the way I recognize it is, the more vulnerable I am within myself, the less anger I am at others. Inshallah. Allahu Akbar.
Brother, if you've got a question, just raise your hand, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. What is the best way to approach my spouse to work on our deen together? That's another question. What dua is good to say when you fall into wrong?
Depends on the wrong with that one. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum. So what is the best way to approach my spouse to work on our deen together? Are they unapproachable? You know, sometimes when if I was to analyse this question, I'll analyse it. Allahu A'lam. My guess is that the fear comes from within the self, the person, and how that person is going to respond. But I don't know. This is a very general question, but for example, if you're both praying and on that basic level, and you want to do something else together, like learn Arabic together, then I can't see why your spouse would be thinking with that, have a problem with that. Or, read a book together, or read the Quran together, do tajweed together, what it may be. I can't see that being a problem. But here, what I see this is best way to approach, that word approach is really hitting me here. This is sisters. Yeah, so about your husband. Is my guess, and you don't have to answer this, sister, I'm rhetorically speaking, just think about it, that you're praying and you're doing everything but he's not yet? Or the fact that you want him to do a bit better, etc., etc.? Yeah. Be vulnerable. Forget the deen and talk to your spouse as a spouse. Be submissive, be pinky, be butterfly, and just grab him at the point whereby, look, you married me for a reason. You married me for a reason. And if I can't tell my husband, don't say you. Use third person. If I talk to him, but if I can't tell my husband what I feel inside, then do you think there's a point in the marriage? Just say that to him. He's not going to say, well, there's no point. He's going to start thinking, well, my wife's serious. This is something very profound. So I need 1 hour of your time. I need 1 hour of your time so that I can speak to you as your wife. Not as your cleaner, not as your housekeeper, not as a mother of your children. I want to speak to you for 1 hour as your wife. Give me that time. And then spill it all out. Just spill it all out. Why I want you to be like this, and how I want my marriage to end up. Make a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, 5-year plan. Inshallah. And Allah, if your intention is sincere, and it's coming from here, and not from here, or from the ego, then inshallah, miracles happen. Patience and shukr. These are how you to balance it out. How do you attain self-respect? The question is, you don't respect yourself. Is that the question? Allahu Alam. How you attain self-respect is, if I was to say to you, Allahu Alam, this is just, I'm talking about coaching and self-development. If I was to say to you, that I'm the most successful person I know, and I am, I'm the most successful person I know, what comes to mind? I know you know this, don't answer the question, isn't it? What will come to mind? Just say it. Arrogance, what else? I am the most successful person I know.
You don't know many people.
Huh? Sure enough. What's my definition of success? You don't know that, do you? What's your definition of success? The reason I'm saying that I'm the most successful person I know is I'm Muslim, and that's all that matters really. And being a Muslim is the first and foremost. The Lord of the universe, the one who created everything, the known to us and unknown to us, the seen to us and unseen to us, the hearing to us, unheard, and the unhearing to us. Okay? What's visible, not visible. That being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chose me. Me. Out of all the other people that are not, to put me here tonight, and put me in, be a Muslim 15 years ago and start practicing my deen. And that's why I'm the most successful person I know. And I will always feel that, inshallah. Everything else is a bonus. The same way when you wake up in the morning, you'll thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. He takes your soul at night time. And some He gives to the appointed term, and some He doesn't give the soul back. Let me tell you a story. 2004, I was in i'tikaf, the masjid. And there's brothers, we sat in a group and said, everyone give a story, some story about their life. He said last year, there was an Irish revert sister. She's about 23 years old. And she's staying with him and his wife. And after 3 weeks, she said to my wife, she wants hijab and jilbab. And she was so excited about it. This is the words of the brother. So I bought it, gave it to my wife, and gave it to her. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, she wore it. That night she went to bed and she never woke up. 3 weeks into the deen. So I think one of the blessings that we miss the fact that we're Muslim. We take that for granted. Forget about the prayer and everything else. But recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that can annihilate you in a blink of an eye, and annihilate you, the universe, everything, just bing, it's gone. There it was, and now it's not. Has chose you to be His servant. And the servant He's chose to be is the one who believes in Him and worships Him as Lord and as a deity, as an Ilah, a Rabb and Ilah. That's one most successful person, and that gives me self-respect. But what happens here, in this question here, is you've been, somewhere along the line, you've been made to lose that. Whether it be parents, husband, children, even yourself, believing, yeah, I'm no good. I clean the house, 3 hours a day, and he's still not happy. And you believe it. Instead of being firm and taking your right as a Muslim woman and saying to your husband, wait, you're out there doing your job. I'm inside doing my job. Okay, we're two cogs of the same machine. You don't go one way and I go the other way. So respect me like I respect you for bringing food on the table. Inshallah. Allah.
Brothers in check, yeah?
Yeah, that hit us hard.
Why do people often exert anger towards an inanimate object, i.e. hitting the cupboard or punching the cupboard or so on? And what are the best ways to control anger? So why do people hit things?
This is basically to show, gorillas beat their chest? Gorillas beat their chest, yeah? So this is me. Well, that's basically what we're doing. There you go, this is me. Back off. And if you don't back off, I want to break something to make sure you back off. again, is vulnerability. They're afraid, or she's afraid, of the other person seeing the inner vulnerability which could be hurt. And that vulnerability was hurt a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago that vulnerability was hurt. And it was kept locked away now. And they don't want to bring it out. So if you've got an angry spouse, or yourself angry, recognize the fact that when you're angry, you're in pain and you need something. Allahu A'lam. What are the best ways of managing anger? We'll have to do a course on that.
On that, what about when, for example, you whack your arm on a door or something and you start smashing the door, or you get angry at objects because you can hit it? Is that just the same?
There's ego. You're exerting, you're pushing people away basically. Don't come near me. We've all been there. But just don't come near me. I'm not ready to show my vulnerability to you. Even though you're my wife for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, I still think you're going to hurt me. Even though you're my husband for so many years, I still think you're going to hurt me. Emotionally. Emotionally.
I was just raising hands, how do you approach an individual who questions Islam in a way that appears to be testing you or trying to throw you off or put doubt into your mind? So how do you approach it? How do you approach an individual who questions Islam that seems to be testing you?
If the person you're giving dawah to makes you doubt, it's time to stop giving dawah and start working on yourself in regards to your deen, and get some serious knowledge to get your foundation. You can't give dawah unless you've got foundation. I'm sorry, it doesn't work, because there's people out there that will really make you doubt. They'll twist your brain and etc. etc. Even Rasulullah ﷺ didn't allow the Sahaba to read the Injil until they got strong in the Aqeedah and understanding and Tawheed and understand what the basic foundation of Deen. Later on, Umar al-Khattab. But it's very important that if you go and give dawah, then you start getting dawah. Just stop giving dawah and you start learning your Deen intricately. What shirk is, the intricacies of shirk, the intricacies of kufr, iman. So you have a foundation, a criteria to judge by. Learn the Quran to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying and what this person is saying. Allahu A'lam. So last question. Is it necessary to have reached a certain level of iman before marriage? Allahu A'lam. The Prophet ﷺ said that marriage is half your deen and you fear Allah the rest. So I don't think you need to reach a certain level of iman before your marriage. If you're praying, hijab, whatever, you just marry and learn to increase your iman together, inshallah. Because how are you going to measure your iman? There's no machine to measure your iman. But there are actions that you can measure. So you're praying 5 times a day and you're doing your dhikr and alhamdulillah, you're happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, happy with yourself, well then you're married, alhamdulillah, then fear Allah the rest. Because sometimes not being married can affect your iman as well. Allah.